On the less fertile and more mountainous side of this island, Ariel Henry, the president of Haiti, is negotiating a deal in Africa to have a foreign nation send 1,000 police officers to aid law enforcement in his own country, in which gangs control 80% of the capital. In his absence, gangs attacked 2 prisons, releasing many prisoners, laid siege to the country's international airport, and took over police stations, banks, and offices. President Henry is stuck outside of his own country, unable to land in the airport due to threats by crime syndicates. On the other side of the island, the more fertile and less mountainous side, the Dominican Republic, DR, is a representative democracy and has the largest economy in the Caribbean. For the last quarter century, the DR had the fastest growing economy in the Western Hemisphere, averaging 5.3% in recent years. The country has the world's 3rd largest gold mine and is the most visited nation in the Caribbean. The DR is far wealthier, safer, and has a much higher standard of living as shown by the HDI difference. Haiti and the Dominican Republic both share the same island and have a population of around 10 million people, but that's about where the similarities end. The average Haitian is nearly 10 times poorer than the average Dominican, and much more likely to be unemployed, and that poverty manifests in drastic disparities in health. The infant mortality rate in Haiti is more than twice the rate in the DR, and the prevalence of HIV/AIDS is almost double. Nearly 6 out of 10 Haitians, 58.7%, live on less than $3.70 a day, while only 4% of Dominicans are in this state of poverty. These differences are also reflected in the life expectancy of each country. Haiti has an average life expectancy at birth of 63 years, while in the Dominican Republic it stands at 73 years. It's impossible not to ask how it ended up so different despite sharing the same island. There are a few key factors that explain how this island produced 2 very different economies. But if you want to get at the very root of it, you have to go back to when the island of Hispaniola was owned by 2 European powers, France and Spain. The early stages of colonization began with Spain and consisted of establishing settlements on the island and trading with the native people for gold. Spain developed Hispaniola into a major sugar-producing colony and imported substantial amounts of slaves from Africa to support this industry. Throughout the 15 and 1600s, British and French pirate raids in the area increased dramatically. By the end of the 16th century, the major European powers came together to fight piracy in the region, but Spain had to give up the western portion of the island to France. This is roughly the territory that would eventually become Haiti. The western French portion grew to overshadow the east in both wealth and population, fueled mainly by a booming sugar farming industry. It was the most successful colony in the West Indies, and was coined the name the Pearl of the Antilles. However, the French exploited the famously fertile land. Aggressive harvesting of the same crop year after year had disastrous effects on soil quality, and through harsh treatment, the French created a group of very resentful, overworked, and abused slaves that eventually rebelled. The Spanish had a different approach. They controlled the eastern portion of the island, and importantly, Santo Domingo, what is now the capital of the DR. The Spanish colony also had a booming sugar industry powered by slavery, which fueled economic growth. An important distinction, however, the Spanish investment into provincial development. Spain significantly improved the city of Santo Domingo by establishing it as the first permanent European settlement in the Americas, building important infrastructure and early urban development. For example, Santo Domingo was one of the first cities to be built with a grid pattern that later inspired most cities in the New World. The result of these investments into development was a more developed society with a sustainable economy and a political system, something totally absent from France's colony. Are you tired of dealing with slow-loading websites and endless hosting headaches? It's time to upgrade to Kinsta, simply better hosting. Kinsta is the ultimate web hosting solution for businesses that rely on their WordPress sites to thrive. With Kinsta, your site can run up to 200% faster just by switching. No extra work required because they'll take care of migrating your sites, completely free. But it's not just about speed. Kinsta offers enterprise-grade security with firewalls, DDoS protection, automatic SSL certificates, and even malware removal, at no extra cost if your site is ever hacked. Their user-friendly dashboard, called My Kinsta, makes managing your site a breeze, and with expert, human-only support always available, you can focus on growing your business while Kinsta handles the rest. Right now, new customers can get their first month of managed WordPress hosting completely free on selected plans. Don't forget, Kinsta takes care of migrating all of your sites for free. Just go to the link in the description or scan the QR code to get started today. Now, back to the video. Both sides of Hispaniola gained independence from the French and Spanish under the name of Haiti. However, the united Haiti was facing the issue of not having recognition from the USA or France. Neither country liked the idea that this former slave colony is now an independent country. France also demanded massive debt compensation to slave owners who lost their property in the Haitian Declaration of Independence, and this is a debt Haiti has been paying for decades. The economic struggle that this put on the Haitian state meant that the country had to levy high taxes to repay its debts, and had a very traditional economy that wasn't so integrated with world trade. This economic hardship, combined with second-class treatment of the residents of the DR, pushed them to become independent from Haiti, part of the reason the nations don't really like each other today. They then briefly rejoined Spain, but after receiving similar treatment, decided to become and remain independent. In the 1900s, the island of Hispaniola would face yet another colonizer, this time the US, who annexed both nations during a turbulent period due to the Banana Wars and World War I. During the US occupation, which notably lasted much longer in Haiti, both nations saw the rise of pro-American autocrats, François Duvalier in Haiti and Rafael Trujillo in the DR. The rule of these dictators would last around 50 years, ending with the assassination of the DR's autocrat Trujillo. Chaos ensued with the momentum of the death of Trujillo, and eventually both nations transitioned to democracy. During this time, however, Haiti struggled to fill the power vacuum that the prolonged US intervention left on it, while the DR was successfully transitioning power into elected bureaucrats. Haiti continued to devolve into turmoil with public uprisings overthrowing numerous governments, devastating earthquakes, cholera outbreaks, and worst of all, large-scale gang violence. Haiti quickly became one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere, while the DR became a tourist paradise and the richest country in the Caribbean. The difference in development between these countries is striking. The HDI in the DR is almost double that of some areas in Haiti. While their relative wealth, GDP per capita, was the same in 1950, today the DR has a GDP per capita almost 6 times as large as Haiti. Even more, despite having relatively the same population, in 2023, the DR had 1,237 homicides, while Haiti had 4,789. The worst part of all is the dysfunctional government of Haiti. In 2018, Haiti saw mass protests demanding the resignation of the government that only came into power 2 years prior, but in an election that had an insanely low 21% voter turnout. Such low turnout is a representation of the sheer lack of trust in the government's capacity to govern. The political chaos continues to this day with an attempted coup, assassination of the president, and mass protests leading us to the year 2024, when the new president Ariel Henry was prevented from entering his own country due to the gang violence. But what was the cause for this divergence which allowed the DR to prosper while Haiti devolved into political and economic turmoil? There are several factors, most notably in the founding of both nations. While DR was founded in good relations with its colonial overlord Spain, Haiti was born out of war with France. France demanded massive debt repayment that it was only able to recently pay off. Additionally, Haiti was seen as a free slave state, which the US and France, major slave states at the time, didn't like, so they refused to recognize Haiti and put it into a difficult economic and political situation in its beginning. During the 20th century, both countries shared the fate of being occupied by the US and faced internal political chaos. The difference, however, is that the DR emerged from the chaos with better established institutions, whereas the US intervention in Haiti left a power vacuum. An explanation as to why the DR was able to establish better institutions after occupation is that the occupation of Haiti in the early 20th century also lasted much longer than that of the DR. The DR also has a vastly different approach to foreign relations. The DR is an important US ally in the Caribbean. The two countries are economically integrated with an agreement dating back to 2004 that liberalizes trade between them, CAFTA-DR. Over time, integration between the two countries culminated in bilateral trade reaching over $30 billion in 2022. The US is also an important source of FDI into the DR, which is focused on manufacturing, IT services, and trade, all highly productive industries that are likely to propel the DR into the high income level in coming decades. The DR has also caught the attention of China, which despite only establishing diplomatic relations with the DR in 2018, has worked to develop their partnership further through affirming the One China policy in terms of Taiwan and stronger trade relations. In short, while the world's superpowers are working to improve their stance with the Caribbean's most promising economy, Haiti is fading into obscurity in the world scene. Over time, the difference in stability had an immense impact on key statistics. More Dominicans went to school compared to Haiti, resulting in a literacy rate of 98.8% compared to a horrible 60.7% in Haiti. The DR also has a road network almost 3 times as dense as that of Haiti. The DR has a stronger free trade policy and has exports that make up almost a quarter of its GDP compared to Haiti's 18%. All these go to show that the DR being able to stabilize itself earlier gave it a huge edge to set up the foundations of a very successful economy. Overall, institutions make up the backbone of nations. They are in charge of law enforcement, peaceful transitions of power, economic policy, managing inflation, and basically all the things necessary for a society to flourish. While both countries went through turmoil in the 20th century, Haiti had a harder time owing to tougher treatment by France and the US, and when it came to stabilizing, the DR was able to establish much more stable institutions, while Haiti struggled with transitions of power. Over time, this resulted in an island where the difference in standard of living is one of the most significant in the world.